Hello, everyone. Okay. We're here today. LS had trouble making it, so we actually now have Robo LS, which is why we have the picture of LS up. I have a bunch of different sayings. See, I just pushed the button. I have a bunch of different sayings of LS. So like I'll push this button and it'll say something that LS normally says. It's just a phrase that he says. See, so I'm gonna push this button right now. Bam.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, good. The LS laugh works too. Hey everyone. Welcome to season 3, episode 10 of Facecheck. Thanks for dealing with the delays a little bit later in the afternoon, but better late than never. Plus, we have a whole bunch of people now for the first time that don't get to normally watch live, have the opportunity to watch live. And I'm going to assume the people that don't normally get to watch, it's not because of a lack of trying. It's because you got a job. It's because you got, family. You got to sleep at some point. So here it is, your opportunity to experience it live. We appreciate you tuning in. For those that have to watch on YouTube for the first time over at VENN Esports, we'll be back to it next week. So thank you for watching it in general. All right, so this is Season 3, Episode 10. We just had the mid-season showdown. We had the spring playoffs. We're just going to call it the spring playoffs. Dom, LS, and dGon here to break down the action. Plus, we had a little bit of ruffled feathers as well on social that included one of our esteemed guests. Let's start with the smiley man himself, LeShower. LS, how are you doing, man, now that you have cold showers?
Well, the cold showers thing is actually insane. I think it's a blessing in disguise. I started at like 30 seconds. I'm up to a minute 35. I'll see what I get to today. But yeah, the reason, so I guess I should just say it, right? Why we're delayed by a day and a half or something. So the reason that it's delayed is I had cosmetic surgery again, and the medicine makes me super groggy. So
no, I mean, I was just telling LS before you guys were here that he needs it. So I mean, thank God, thank fucking God. All right. So,
oh my God.
People were asking like, "Hey, what's up? What's going on? Is LS okay?" I was like, "I really don't know. I don't know if he's okay."
It's all over. It's over. Yeah. So that's it. There you
go. Dom, how was your weekend and week?
My weekend was good. Yeah, I mean, the series kind of went the way I would have expected, but I had a good time. I was able to use some of the time that I normally would be like live viewing. Like LEC, I just made a video that some people liked, so yeah, been happy with it.
That's right. You made the was it fixing NA Rift Herald usage and how people overcommit to it, or what they should be doing, the order of operations to do it, how to commit to it. You can head on over to Dom's channel to take a look at that. It was 20 minutes on some examples that were good, most of the examples were bad. Because it's yeah. But you can check that out. All right, so we had games this weekend. C9 3-0 over 100 Thieves. TL 3-1 over TSM. This was basically what we predicted, right? There were no surprises there, right?
Yeah, it went as predicted. I would just say that I felt like TSM we could have got so much better of a series if TSM just won the first game like they should have. If they just didn't do that dumb randomly start hitting Baron when they're the ones that they're on soul point and all that stuff. If they just didn't do that and they won the game 1 like they should have, I think this could have been like a really close series. TSM could have maybe won, could have went to 5 games. I mean, I think that TSM came in with like a huge prep advantage and draft advantage in the first game. And I feel like that's like normally a huge edge in the series. If you win that first game, then we might see TL have to ban Seraphine for like the remainder of the series or something like that. Like, you don't know what TL's reaction would have been. So.
All right, Lee Sin, let's kick to the bracket. Plow. All right, so LS, your thoughts on this week's bracket as a whole, and TL versus TSM and C9 versus 100 Thieves.
I mean, I think Cloud9 was expected to 3-0 100 Thieves. I think the way that they drafted was the opposite of what I had anticipated. I thought Cloud9 would be the one with all the heavy or like lean scaling team compositions, but actually 100 Thieves showed up with that as their draft concept, and I thought that was very different than everything that they had ever shown up until that point. So that was actually interesting. That was enjoyable to see, and I think that it actually made the games a lot closer than if 100 Thieves just tried to sin and play against Cloud9 on a mechanical front. And I know that Cloud9 was in really, really, really rough positions in some of those games. And when I had some of the players on the stream, like after to talk about it, I mean, they thought the game was, the spot was really bad, but that they couldn't possibly lose because it was 100 Thieves. So it didn't matter. But yeah, TSM versus Team Liquid. Obviously, that's it's definitely a bit sad. I think TSM. I thought they were going up against Dig, which I think actually would have been a worse matchup for them than Evil Geniuses. But now maybe TSM has a chance to, I guess, get knocked out one round later.
Let's dive into the matches that happened first with a little let's dive in with the matches first. Let's start with the we'll talk TSM versus TL first. Now that game, again, not as close as everyone thought. TSM just kind of throwing that one away, and and then TL just kind of control the game there. One of the big talking points that was brought up by one of our viewers over the week was like, hey, look, let's take a peek at Alfari Huni. Huni seems to be coming to form. He's a little bit more versatile with his champion picks. Alfari will only play carries, and we know that Huni can bring out Gragas, and he did. And he, whiffed some ults and didn't look super great on it. Kind of wanted to get your thoughts there, Dom. What do you think about this matchup here?
All right, so the first things first, I think Alfari had a good series, but that first death of the first game literally triggered me more, harder than anything. Like, I almost fell out of my chair when I saw it. So it was a split map. For people that don't remember the game, it was a split map, right? TSM actually, and this is why I thought TSM came in with the prep advantage. Not only were they able to use the Seraphine bot lane counter pick into Thresh as an answer, and they pretty much got a good Seraphine support spot. Most people consider MF Seraphine to be good into Thresh. So I think that their prep was really good on that front. Combine that with the level 1 invade to protect the bot lane. I think that was really smart because they're splitting the map. They're forcing vertical jungling on the side of their MF Seraphine. The real way that MF Seraphine is could be in danger to Thresh is flash flay into a lantern gank. That's because ideally you want the Seraphine and MF pushing up the turret and just chunking them under turret and just making the lane really hard for the Jhin. So I thought their draft was really good, and their prep was really good. So the first 4 minutes, Santorin is just pathing vertical on top side. First 4 minutes, you're having Spiga do the same on bot, and then they dropped a ward. Alfari drops a ward. The Udyr walks straight through the ward and just kills Alfari anyway, when he literally had map split on his side for the first 4 minutes of the game, and he's playing Gnar into Renekton. That fucking got me. When I saw that death, it that to me is, as a jungler, is the most it's a slap in the face to fucking Santorin there. It's well, you weren't here for 1 second, now I'm fucking dead. That's how it feels.
Yeah, not a lot of hand holding there, LS, in this series.
No, I think TSM, the thing that struck me obviously a little bit weird was some of their drafts were very bizarre, I think, in general, but they did end up finding the Seraphine in the later stages of the series, but it didn't I don't know. TSM, I said before the series that if they showed up like they played in the clean streak that they ended up having, that maybe they could have taken the series, but I think they ended up showing up like the TSM that has been on the decline throughout the split, right? Because I described them as the Superman ride at Six Flags, where they they're on the they're going up, but then sometimes they're going down, and
TL just rode them the entire split. No, okay, it makes sense. They just got rode the entire series.
I think they chose a lot of counterintuitive champions in the draft stages. I don't know. I mean, I'm very excited for TSM Legends this week. I'll tell you that much. I'm looking forward to the behind the scenes, what they were saying when they justified certain champion picks. I think the Rumble pick was one of the weirdest ones that they possibly could have had. I know that the Ahri that Team Liquid ended up picking, I thought that was a little bit out of place, but it doesn't, it doesn't really matter. TSM getting the one win, I really like. I feel like Seraphine is such a contributing factor in that, and I think NA teams just in general don't realize how strong she is still, which is a really bizarre thing when you think about it, because she's existed for so long, so many, through so many different patches and whatnot. I think I don't know. I don't think TSM has any chance to beat Cloud9 or Team Liquid, even if they make a run through the lower bracket, because I don't foresee them to be consistent or stable enough.
Yeah, I think their macro is super weird. I mean, we've seen so many times the split. Like, I don't know how TSM gets into these like really like weird situations, but I mean, last year we would always make fun of them because they would do the famous like Elder or Baron for Nexus trade. So they would just literally like open mid and then they would just take a side objective and lose their Nexus for it. But like, we saw it so many times. It's like, okay, what the fuck's going on? Now they've refined it a little bit. They don't just straight up lose the game over like Baron or Elder anymore. Now what they do is like when they're the ones on Soul Point or they're competing against a team that has Soul Point, they just always go to the Baron. And I just don't understand this at all. Like, why do they keep on prioritizing Baron over Soul in every spot when they're the ones that are like either on Soul Point or the enemy's on Soul Point? Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
There's no like, is there no like, God, I guess there's no way for us to know, without like, getting the comms or whatever. But there's no reason for it other than like, hey, if they get Baron, maybe then they get mid prio, and then it makes it difficult for us to do, a straight up team fight at Dragon. Like, what could they possibly be thinking, LS, for that type of thing when they're on Soul Point?
I mean, I don't know what so stuff like this. I don't. Again, it's really, really, really hard to know without having mic checks, like what's going on, and who's making these decisions. But I think that there's just a fundamentally flawed idea of where the priorities lie, or like what different sequences unfold depending on which like path you take, right?
Right.
And the thing that's really weird is, I mean, we've seen in other mic checks that Sword Art especially will override some other people's like wishes, right? I remember that there's like that one thing where they're all communicating and Sword Art's just adamant about doing one particular thing. So I don't know, maybe that's what ends up happening. So I'm not going to blame like everyone, but whoever's spearheading the main decisions, I mean, it's problematic, obviously, because it just doesn't make any fucking sense. I mean, it's like DRX of old. DRX were sort of like memed for always going for Baron over Soul Point. It was a very weird thing. Like, if they just won a team fight, they would always just take Baron over getting Soul. And then they would contest the Soul and maybe lose it. And it was really, really, really weird all the time. Because obviously Soul should be, in general, a higher priority than Baron. And then Elder should be... Cloud. Yeah. And then Elder should always be the highest priority. In general.
What about compared to Nexus? Nexus or Elder?
Yes, well.
That's the tough thing. That's gonna be episode 3 of fixing NA. I'm gonna be like, guys, Soul is more important than Baron. Please stop going to Baron.
Yeah. No. I mean, Nexus is the second most important 50 gold in the game. So.
True.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Tibbers
so
is the first.
For me, my takeaway is like, this is why I hate the idea of like bringing like shot callers to our region, because for some reason, whenever you see like one of these people that's supposed to be a shot calling god injected into team, I mean, granted, all these examples are for TSM, Yellow Star, Mythy, Sword Art, etc. I don't know if it's an org problem or not, but anytime you bring these shot callers into the region, it's not like the team randomly just has good macro. Like there's never been a time where we just imported somebody who is a shot caller and then suddenly they just like completely like schooled the entire league when it came to like setups on objectives, and they just look like a completely like different team. Like that just doesn't seem to happen. Like maybe Rain over in season 6.
So here's the only thing that I think of, and I think that the public community, I'm really waiting for like fucking Nemesis to get to Korea already, right? Because I can just constantly stream like IRL like conversations, you know what I mean? Just like sitting there and talking about shit like this. The community, the public, Twitter, Reddit, they have such false ideas on what goes on inside of teams, right? We see it all the time with coaches and analysts, right? They bestow this arbitrary amount of power or knowledge to these titles, but the titles don't mean anything by themselves, right? Because there's no There's nothing gatekeeping those titles. There's nothing credentialed about those titles necessarily.
You mean
anyone could get hired, right?
Like
Yeah,
like
you could just be you could be a player in OCE and then
Yes.
next year just be like coaching an LCS team. Like it's fucking crazy what
and
can happen.
Right. And people don't realize this, and so they give a lot of power to these fucking titles, and it just doesn't make sense, man. It literally makes no sense. The title doesn't mean anything. It really doesn't mean anything. So like it's a title and it's there, but it doesn't let you know what is actually happening. So I think in terms of shot calling idea, the reality is that I'm not a very big believer in communication, right? As a thing that gets stressed, particularly in the West, right? Where people always say communication's important, yada yada yada. You could take 3 Chinese players, 2 Korean players, or 4 Korean players, 1 Chinese player, yada yada yada. You could take someone who speaks Cantonese that's like challenger on Korea, right? Throw them in a team together. They won't speak, and they'll still beat other teams. Because League of Legends itself, at its fundamental core, is a language, right? You don't need to, well, maybe in some cases you do. If you go to gank top lane, right, at very high MMR or something, generally 2 players know how to coordinate the dive onto a turret, right? How to juggle the aggro and how to do all this other stuff.
High MMR in which region? Because like, let me tell you, bro.
Okay, see,
I've been playing some solo queue this year.
Okay, so... But the point that I'm trying to make is that communication is only a thing that has to be stressed when there is like tier gaps between the players, right? When one player knows a lot more than the other, it adds a lot of stress to the player that knows more than the others, or that who is like comprehensively better at the game, because that player has to drag the other players along who don't know. The thing that I would liken it to is, do you ever play, so Dom, like this is for you, do you ever play with like a very obscure one trick that's actually really good at their champion, and they just know lethal ranges or like the limits of the champion way better than you do? And you'll just see them go in, you'll think, oh, he's trolling, and then it'll work, and like he knows that it'll work, right? Like it's a really thin thing, but he knows that because he has a higher level knowledge about the champion. So in comms, he would have to tell you, oh, I can go in here. Right? But the reality is that if you played with him enough, or if you played at a high enough level, you too would then know, oh, he can go in there. Right? But the problem is that the champion's so obscure, you don't play with the person enough, the champion's not popular, right? That you see him so rarely that you're not on that same page. So this is where comms become an issue. But ultimately, it's what you're saying is that people don't have game knowledge. When people you're talking about simplified stuff. Sorry, go.
No, I was just gonna say people are ironically saying Helicopter, but actually, yes, like Helicopter is one of those players where like he will understand like just kill ranges and like engage angles that other people won't see. So when you play with him, there's times where like you'll be like, oh shit, like I was gonna just like like do Dragon here or something, or I was gonna do Herald here, and then he'll be like looking for a dive, and you'll be like, oh well, shit. I mean, if we can actually dive this easily, it's the right call. So he's actually one of the players who you can like play with well.
Yes.
Like you actually can like he expands your knowledge of what the champion is capable of when you play with him.
Let me give a good example. You know JJ King? The Fiora.
The Fiora, yeah, that guy's
the insane. Fiora god. That guy, when he goes in, most people are thinking we're going out, right? But when he goes in, he's thinking, no, this is like Fiora can do this. Right? Now, if you play with him occasionally, right? Like imagine he went over to NA solo queue, right? You would probably think he's trolling most of the time that he goes in. Like most of the time that he would elect to fight a team fight or take an engage angle or something like that. But if you play with him 100 times in scrims, you're the idiot if you can't also realize like, okay, yeah, Fiora can do this.
I mean, it literally is just you could always go in with Fiora is like what I've learned from watching him in Chinese solo queue. Like literally, it's always a fight angle. Like it doesn't matter if it's 2v4, 1v5. Like it's always a fucking fight angle. It's too insane.
That was one of your best analogies I think you've ever put out there at last.
Yeah,
like, that's really good.
I wanna expand on this and basically say that like now most of what we're talking about when we talk about game knowledge gaps, they're not as what is the word for this? They're not as what the fuck is it? Hold on. What's the word? I don't even think I can pronounce it when I see it. Obfuscate? I can't even say it. Obfuscate? Yeah, yeah. Yeah, okay. Anyways, it's not as unclear when we're doing co-streams, right? And we're talking about macro rotations. Why I've never said this word. Okay, this word is I never use this word. Anyways,
obfuscate. What the
Obfuscate.
fuck?
Obfuscate. Yeah, I never use the word. It's such a. The last time I heard this word, I think it came from. I think it came from like a Reddit thread. Like someone just used it to describe something. Never used it. Anyways, it's not as unclear. Like the stuff that we're talking about in co-streams, VOD reviews, and like other stuff, it's not nearly as unclear as JJ King going in on Fiora or Mango Fish going in on Fizz or like these types of things, right? Where you could basically be like, okay, those are not common champions. We don't see them every day, right? When you're living in the same meta, the same 80 carries, the same, for so many games, so many scrims and yada, 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 so many macro plays, communication's not a viable argument. Not with how surface level some of the problems are. Anyways.
Were you saying that?
Thanks for coming from my TED Talk.
Yeah. Obfuscate. So it's more likely to confuse than it is to make clear. Right. And so it is unclear that this is an engage angle. It's unclear that this is a play.
To the other players.
What you just described, Dom, when it happens in your games with Helicopter, where you're like, I'm going to drag in. Oh, he's going in. That moment of like, well, I'm not in position to go in. Otherwise, I didn't know go in. That is what happens in the game. Obfuscate. Jeez Louise. Right,
yeah.
You got
Jesus, man. Why do we have to say this word all the time? Why can't we just use another word? Jesus Christ.
All right. Well, with that said, and we thank you for diving into that, and that was one of the best analogies you've had. You've had some
I like the guy in chat that's like brain dead take. Jesus Christ. Oh my god.
Let's
oh man. These people, Jesus.
These are
that must be an LS viewer right there.
Dog.
The community that you raised, like Jesus.
Oh my god.
With that, God, there's so many jokes there. With that, what are some of the takeaways we had from TL? We know that coming into it, Tactical was kind of slacking, and we're like, all right, maybe Tactical will be a liability.
What is happening with Tactical? Like I swear, like half the time that I don't know. I swear he's good. So like he must know that he's trolling when he's doing this. But like he's actually running down like so many different situations. Like even when he's living like that one in mid lane, like near the mid lane tier 2, where he just like jumps in and then he gets healed by Nidalee and almost lives. Like that should go fucking poorly. So it just feels like he lost his like finesse or something. Like his mechanical like proficiency was so high when he came in, which is like why I thought he was going to be like a beast for so long. But I don't know. It's like, it's sad to me because I don't know why he's playing so much worse than he was before. I mean, he's still playing solo queue. He's still like 1k LP. I don't know if he's in his own head or he just feels like, like he needs to do more on the team than he does in this situation. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe he's just like surprised that he has a jungler that's actually like ganking and like moving around the map and it like throws him off. It's like, holy shit, like what do I do? Oh, my jungler's going in. I guess I got to go in with him. Like I don't know what's going on, but it's rough. It's happening way too consistently for it to be like a one-off. Like, oh shit, remember that time he like jumped in as Tristana? Like now it's he just jumps in every time with Tristana.
You're being a little too positive there. It's because he doesn't have the positive jungler there, just supporting him at his every move and able to announce that. Mm-hmm. In a little bit more reality, though, there were no games of Tristana played last year for him, and so I think now with 7 games of Tristana in the LCS, I know he. But
Tristana's so easy to play compared to like other champions. Like you're telling me that it's harder to play Tristana than it is Kalista. Like anyone could play fucking Tristana. That champion is so brain dead busted right now.
Kalista. Oh, sorry, I thought you said Kai'Sa. Yeah, Kalista's harder. That was the only kind of like real trend I could see. 7 games here compared to last year. So not exactly sure. What's your take on this sophomore slump from Tactical here, LS?
I mean, I'm not sure what causes.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm not totally sure what causes stuff like this from a mechanical slump or other things. I think that it's a loss of motivation because so the thing that I would liken it to is you can queue up for a solo queue game and just casually play and you can win games, right, without actually trying that hard. But it doesn't mean that your contribution or that you played as well as you normally do, right? If you're not like really trying mechanically. And I think that this would apply more to laners than it would for like support players or like junglers. Because like you could just like only hit the minions, not space well, just have like uninteractive laning phase, right? Like you're not really pushing your limits. And that would just sort of be like queuing up for like maybe an ARAM or something, right? I would liken that to. I don't know what's going on with tactical. I just did I did an interview yesterday at like T1 that'll come out later where I talk about how the way that esports utilizes the word age is really incorrect, I think. I think a lot of people use age as a physical measurement, but age should be used as a time spent in the game measurement. So for example, I think someone who their first year playing pro at 19 years old, by the time they're 24, they are equally as weathered as someone who's first year playing pro at 14.
So you're saying I'm actually like 50 years old if I've been playing for 15 years?
Yes.
So I'm like an 80-year-old man. Thank you, LS.
Well, I mean, I feel like a grandfather as well in esports. I mean, I'm going on 16 years.
True.
So like
Grandfather LS.
I mean,
you are old as fuck. I agree.
I'm younger than some players, which is kind of weird. But when I talk to them or something, I'm just like, you have not been around a long time, you know? Like, I feel very weathered. I think weathered is the best way to describe it, and I think that weathered is a word that should probably be used more often. I don't know. I mean, how long has tactical been around? And I know that's a really weird thing to say because he's so young. Right?
I only really remember
like physically
him.
young.
I don't know
18?
what his account's like. He might have had like an account in like season like 8 that like he was high MMR on that it just wasn't, his name wasn't tactical, but I only really remember seeing him in season 9. That was like when I first started remembering like him being in high elo all the time.
Okay, he's been around for 5 years. It seems, and I don't know what his personality is like. I don't, like maybe he's actually nearing the age of sort of being like weathered, like actually, even though he's still very young. If you start playing on pro teams at 15 years old, by the time you hit 20, you can actually feel like you've been around quite a long time. And when you combine that with whatever, his personality is and all this other good jazz, I don't know. Does it lead to a lack of motivation? Does he start getting actually burned out? Does he start getting fatigued? But then also, so I think this is an interesting question. What does money do to someone who's so young, right? When they've also been playing a really long time? Does that actually contribute to getting weathered faster? You know what I mean? So like Dom, you and I, we existed way back in the early days of esports, right? My first salary ever was in 2010 to 2011. It was $100 a month. Fucking
Jesus.
Oh God,
that's a lot of ramen.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know about that. My first salary was 800 with Dignitas. It was 800 a month.
Okay, but that's like 2012, right? 2013.
Yeah, 2012.
Yeah,
2012.
Yeah. So that's when salaries in esports started going up. The first really big one I remember was Hydra. I think got 8,000 a month from Evil Geniuses. And that was the first really big salary. And then Naniwa got 6K a month from Quantic, if anyone remembers that org.
Quantic Gaming.
Yeah, Quantic Gaming, I think.
Apple.
Naniwa was another really big signing. There was Huck. Huck was, I think, on Evil Geniuses or like Alliance or whatever it was that Huck was on. Those are big salaries. But in 2009, Mouse Esports used to pay StarCraft players $50 a month. Ghost of Gamers was $100 a month with like a $250 a month travel stipend that could be banked. It was bad, right? So imagine back then getting insane amounts of money, and what would that do to your motivation? Because back then we played the game because we enjoyed it, right? We didn't play it for necessarily money.
Right.
Nowadays, people, even if they don't enjoy it, it's really hard to turn a blind eye to the money.
So I would caution a couple things there. One, right, again, just for everyone at home, this is all conjecture, right? Where we don't know what's going on, so we're putting that out there. And two, tactical first made it, I think, on like a real team. I would say real team, like now that there's the jump into being pro, was TSM Academy back in 2018 because he did Scouting Grounds, I believe, in 2018. So then he was on it 2019, gets moved on over to Team Liquid, makes the change, and then makes the run from last year into this year. So just trying to figure out, like, hey, man, is it and it's not just a one champ thing. It does happen a lot on Tristana, though. From my memory, it's like, hey, the big pop-off video from Double F being like, what are you doing? I was on Tristana, jumping in and dying in playoffs this week. Tristana, so it feels like, hey, we need to play Tristana because it's meta, but it is a champ that is outside what it has that one button. The one button, kind of like Ezreal, where you push it, you get it wrong, you die.
I mean, for me, the thing that like doesn't really excuse it, it's not like he's messing up. Like he's not pulling a double lift where he's messing up the jump buffer consistently. Like that was like double lift's problem, where it's like, okay, maybe that's like something that's more Tristana specific. But like you could suicide in on half the champions that he plays, right? Like you can suicide in on Kai'Sa, you can jump too far forward as Kalista. Like it's even harder to pick your timings on those champions. I would say like it's much harder to pick your timing on a Kai'Sa than it is on a Tristana for like when you're supposed to like enter the fight or when you're supposed to like go in, because obviously Tristana has resets, and then like Kai'Sa, it's so committal normally. Right. So for me, the thing is like, I don't think that when he goes in, it makes like much sense, or it's like, damn, he's like playing the edges. It looks like massive lapses in judgment. Like he is legitimately jumping like 1v5 into like 5 people alone as Tristana early game or something. Like it's actually crazy. So I'm not sure if it's one of those things where it's like, oh, well, it's a finesse thing, or maybe he can't play the champion. It's like, right, you could do this on any champion and it would be horrible.
Well, we'll get to see if Team Liquid are able to coach that out. Jad over there and the rest of the squad they're still able to get the win over TSM. We've talked this one through. Let's head on over to our other series where we got couple fans in the chat here that want to see it. Again, I told you Melina was on something when she made these graphics. But Cloud9 take down 100 Thieves 3-0 with Cloud9 soaring over the skies over the Hamburglers. And games 1 and 2 closer, with the Baron steals, but Cloud9 felt in control of this one the whole way. And also game 3 kind of felt like a mental boom there with closer just kind of, getting counter jungled. I'm going to go in there. Hey, they're rotating on you. Yeah, I'm still getting this Gromp. All right, I'm dead. Good luck, guys. And Cloud9 sail to a 3-0 victory on this one. All right, Dom, thoughts on this series here?
I mean, I just want to give my thoughts on 100 Thieves, I guess, where I feel like 100 Thieves has just like ruined their team. Like they used to have an identity. Like, I mean, the fact that like Alice used to meme them as like 100 sins or whatever, I feel like that version of 100 Thieves looks like vastly better than this new version of like, now they just look like they look like a team that's trying to be a top team that will never be as good as the top teams. Like it looks like if they keep on playing these like whatever, like tanks top or like role playing top laners, whatever, they put someday weak side, they put Tommy on a fucking mage, and then they just like play it like super standard. I don't see how they'll ever be better than TL, TSM, or C9. Like it just doesn't seem like it's feasible. So I feel like now they've ruined their complete identity. Like they used to at least have like roaming mid laners, and they'd force you into a lot of different situations early. They'd have like a lot of creative level 1s, and then they would dive you like pretty early on into the game. And that's just not possible with the champions that they pick now. So I just don't like the fact that this team came in having like a strong identity. Sure, it was like an aggressive early game identity, but I'm fine with that being your identity. And I think that, that's an identity where like maybe you might not be able to win worlds versus like super top teams that are able to like play around your timings like extremely well. Sure. But I think you could win NA with that identity. If you're just like an aggressive early game team and you understand like how to like force early like dives, and it just seems like that was just the natural strength of the players too. Like DeMonte was really good at reading the map for a mid laner. It's probably his biggest strength as a mid laner. You had Closer, who is somebody who found a ton of gank angles. Generally speaking, he's very smart about understanding like how to snowball a lead. I just felt like that version of them had so much more promise than this version where they're like, Tommy, like, go try to do your Power of Evil impression. And he's like, oh, I'm almost Power of Evil. It's like, okay, you tried, Tommy. Gold star. Like, that's it. That's not the fucking team that I think has a chance of winning an A.
Yeah, specifically here in this game number 2 with Ryoma going 1-5 on Azir. Wasn't put in a lot of positions
power
to
of
find
Tommy.
Success. Lost a lot of gold stars there from Dom. He has a lot of leftover to give for the rest of the playoffs. And LS, thoughts on this series?
So I mean, my thoughts is that Cloud9, 100 Thieves looked more alive, and they looked like they actually had probably more chance because of the nature of the comps. I think the comps were saving them very, very, very hard. I know that, again, as I mentioned earlier on, Cloud9 players that I had come on the stream and talk to me after acknowledged it as such. Like Cloud9 was in a doomed situation in game 1 if 100 Thieves were better players. Cloud9 was also in a doomed situation in game 2 if 100 Thieves was better players. But unfortunately, 100 Thieves can't play like these type of team compositions. Now, the interesting thing is like what Dom said. You could win NA by being 100 Sins. You could play predominantly for laning phase, and you could play very reckless, high variance, and all this other stuff. But at Worlds, if you're just gonna get completely booty blasted and thrown out in groups, I don't know personally how I feel about that. I would rather coast into Worlds and like, it kind of sounds weird, but I'd rather coast into Worlds on third place and be practicing and getting very proficient at something that is actually going to give the highest potential upside.
Do you think they can get third place?
What? 100 Thieves?
Yeah. Do you think they can get 100? Do you think 100 Thieves could get third place? Like
100 place, third Thieves.
Yeah.
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 I think if they drafted the way that they did with these comps against something like TSM or Dig or EG, I think they can beat those teams, but I don't think they'll beat TL or Cloud9. But I think, yeah, you can beat TSM playing like this. I think this is actually the best way to beat TSM.
I don't think they'll beat
TSM
TSM personally. I think that I think TSM just I think TSM just does this 100 Thieves style better than 100 Thieves does. I feel like they just
I agree.
outstanded
I
them.
completely agree. But I think that if they are going to beat, I think that they could beat TSM with this, right? If TSM goes for the high variance stuff, right? If TSM does the scaling thing, then yes, TSM will beat them. But I think the race for third place is actually a thing. I think that NA is, I think it's separated into various tiers. There's Cloud9 and TL, and then there's like a line, and then there's the race for third place, which is like 100 Thieves, TSM.
You better not say Dig.
And,
don't say Dig. Dig is not in there. Dig is losing first
it's
round.
a race. It's a race to third place. Okay.
So if I join the fucking 100 meter dash and I race against Usain Bolt, if I'm like double his time, does that mean that I'm in the fucking race?
Dom's in the race.
I think Dig can beat TSM. Probably, right? If TSM don't draft scaling team comps and then they do the high variance fucking, cinder block to the head gameplay that they are known for sometimes.
Guys,
Dignitas just sort of like waits.
Guys, you guys have to excuse LS. He just had surgery. He's on all types of medication. He doesn't know what he's saying right now. This is not what he actually means. Trust me.
What do you mean? It's like you're about to make an important decision and then a cinder block like hits you in the head and then you just make like a disjointed decision. Like,
oh man.
So no, but they do stuff like this. In games, they just do these arbitrary, random, forceful things.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
You know what? Actually, I don't know if dGon can get it.
Soul.
The clip in Game 1, the clip where I lost my mind. Do you know what I'm talking about? Cloud9 versus 100 Thieves?
Let me take your time, explain it, or talk about something else.
It's in game number 1. It's the random team fight in middle at like 30 minutes in the game. I'll try to find it for you maybe.
Like,
but
Cloud9 versus 100 Thieves?
Cloud9 versus 100 Thieves, but like TSM does stuff like this all the time too. I used to call it the TSM because it was so iconic, like how consistently they would do stuff like that. But
what was the fight? Describe it. Where are they at? Oh, is it the 11-6? Okay.
It's in the very, very middle of the map.
It's at Dragon or no?
No. Very, very, very middle of the map. Let me try to find it. Okay, hold on. All right, hold on. I'm looking for it right now. I should have had the.
Was it the game losing fight?
Okay.
Oh, okay, I see it.
Started at 34 minutes. Holy shit! I'm gonna lose my mind again.
All right.
Oh my god.
Give me a second,
Holy.
everyone.
Remember, I have delay.
Chat, we see you guys, so we'll see you right. Let's see. How do I pull this up? What is the best way to pull this up? Whatever. I'll just full screen it.
Holy fuck!
Like I hate it. I hate what they did.
Look
I hate
at
it.
the minimap.
Back.
There's nothing. There's no dragon.
Oh,
There's
okay.
4 minutes until dragon.
I hate
The enemy
it.
can't
I
do
hate
Baron.
using
You just
them.
had a ward on it. Lily is clearing it.
It doesn't
You see
feel
them.
good to use them.
You
It
know where
feels
they are.
better to just crit people with Infinity or play
fucking
Blade
see
of
all of
Iron
them.
King.
You know that.
Okay.
You can see them all, man. Why are you in the middle of the
Here we
middle?
go.
You can see them all. There's no camp. There's no minion wave. They're not on Baron. There's no dragon. Why are you in mid?
Mid control is all I would say.
It's match fixing levels of bad. If this was an RTS, the team would be disqualified. I said the same thing about Fnatic. Fnatic did the same thing. There's no way all 5 players
I'm gonna choke,
have
and it's
their
gonna be
eyes
more
open
desirable than watching
for
this.
30 seconds. They're all closed. They're all just closed and they're clicking forward. There's no way. Their monitors are off. Dude, I can't. I can't. How does anyone watch this
in this game? Oriana doing negative damage.
There's nothing going on. Like there's no, you can't defend it. It's
was
like
literally
this is like when you play this in
on
court, the
the
person just
fucking
admits,
map.
yeah, I'm guilty.
There's
Like-
no dragon, and they can't be a
Holy
Oh my
cow, bro.
god.
Why are you in the middle?
I don't.
You got a hot date? Is there a hot date or what?
Damn.
What?
There's hot date. Oh man.
There's a hot date. Yeah, there's a hot date.
Holy moly. Yeah.
Jesus.
So
Wow, the game just ended just like that. I forgot that the game ended like that. I'll be honest, like I think at this point in the game, I was just so sure Cloud9 had won that I was like half watching. You know, I was probably mauling at somebody in chat like halfway through. Again, that's such a disgusting way for the game to end. You know, it wasn't like there was a
What
fight.
are they doing?
I mean, like you watch other regions and it's like, oh, they lose.
Everyone. Why are they It's insane. It's so insane.
They
this
need-
is what
they
I talk
need
about
mid-control.
deductive reasoning. Oh, it's so fucking ridiculous. No, so I come from RTSs, right? I think I've talked about this on the show before. RTS players make way more accurate and precise predictions with way less provided information. It's just like a skill set, right, from the games.
Right.
To understand Fog of War and to understand deductive reasoning. That is a huge skill set in that game. But somehow mobile players just think it's far-fetched. Somehow it's 99% takes are wrong, broken clock, you know, yada, yada, yada. Fucking ridiculous, man. So fucking ridiculous.
glad we got to relive that highlight. And so I think that brings
Twice
us
a day.
a good question to our experts here on 100 Thieves Dig. I mean, we basically just tickled the surface of it and saw peak gameplay from our top teams here in North America. And we got a matchup here. Who you got, Dom? Dig or 100 Thieves after seeing that? Did that sway your thought process now?
I don't know. I think it'll be fucking close. I mean, I think 100 Thieves will win, but I think it'll be close. I think this will be like a 3-2 banger of just pure pain. I think it's just gonna be like, I think it's just gonna be 5 games of fucking just straight up torture. That's what I would assume.
God, look what you've done, LS. You fucking awaken all of your diamond hand dig holders here. Dig to the moon all the way up, man. I realize there's no more air and it's all over. All right, well, you just showed us your highlight here of 100 Thieves gameplay.
The people that are still holding Dig are like the people that are still holding GME. They're like, no, it's gonna go back up, I promise. And it's like, no, it's fucking dead, man. Like, it's already fucking dead. They're like, you know, diamond hands, baby. No, fuck that. Dig in best of fives. Like, every single time I watch Dig, I was like, holy shit, they feel lucky. Like, that was my normal response to Dig winning a game. Was like, holy shit, they're lucky to get away with this. Thank God it's not a best of 3 or best of 5 series. But now it's just like, now it's a best of 5 series. Like, I just don't know how you win. I mean, look, they were 2-0 versus TSM in the regular season, right? Like, if they play somehow in the next round, TSM beats EG, they play against TSM, they beat 100 Thieves, they play against TSM. Like, even though they have wins on the board against the teams, like, the scoreboard doesn't really show how over those games were for them going into like the second half of the game. Like, they were like 7k gold down. Like, TSM had to do miraculous throws, like give a free soul, fucking start Baron at 20 minutes when you have a quirky comp and just start hitting it and let the enemy team have it. Like, they had to throw in such miraculous ways that I just don't see how this is going to happen in playoffs, especially when, you know, playoffs pressure hits and generally people are like trying to play more intelligently.
Yeah.
You know, like,
They tighten up, play differently, they're not as loose, all that good stuff, right? And think about how many Baron steals it was for Dardoch to steal a couple wins. Like, 2 steals leading to wins is a lot. I think he had like 3 or 4 on the season, which was a lot, but like, it's specifically stealing leading to a win is more rare, and he had a couple of those this year, so even more proving the point here for Dom. LS, what you got for us here? Are you going to are you pouring fuel into the rocket? Are you pouring fuel into the rocket? Are we going to the moon, baby?
Just pour fuel all over everyone at this point. Like,
Oh,
who
interestingly
cares?
enough, is the two parallels. I think 100 sins plays. I think the way Dig win games, right, is by opponents just fumbling, right, and blundering away things, right. So I think if 100 Thieves draft the way they did against Cloud9, they probably just win. I really think that they probably just outright win because Dignitas gets uncomfortable whenever the onus is on them to do things.
No,
and
that's
then they troll.
actually a thing. I feel like Dig is the type of team where when they actually have more options in the game, like if the game isn't streamlined and they're like, it's this fucking sole point for the enemy, so we have to fight here, and then they just like will execute the fight decently well. When those decisions are given to them and they're losing, it feels like they make better decisions because there's less to choose from. When they actually get into situations where they have the lead, I mean, remember the Dig versus CLG game? Holy shit, where they just like randomly started fighting in mid lane, they lost to CLG. This is when CLG had literally one win on the entire season up to this point. Like they literally like saved Brox's career by losing these last fucking games. So like this is the type of thing about Dig is like if they ever have an advantageous position, it's like they're guaranteed to throw. But if they're losing, they might have a chance.
Yeah, I mean, I really hope that Cloud9 or 100 Sins don't overreact to the loss against Cloud9 and just take an entirely different approach in this next week. But if I know anything about people who use and rely on magical thinking to reach conclusions, which I mean, just from some of the publicly available things that you can research about some of the people, I think that they might knee jerk and just be like, no, this is bad approach, bad take. We have to change everything. Zug. Like, man, that's a pretty. I think that's a pretty likely situation that could unfold.
You think they just played the whole academy team? They're like, fuck it, DeMonte and the academy team. That's
what I was gonna say. Wait. Is there a world where they throw in and it's Tanner time, baby? It's like, all right,
Nope.
we're out of gold stars. 100 Thieves facility can't find any Tostino's gold stars provided by Quicken to put Ryoma in anymore. It's time to win. It's time for Tanner. It's Tanner fucking time. No way. There's
They
no
won't
world.
do it. I feel like they won't do it because it will look so bad if they even win. You know, like that's the thing is like if they put in DeMonte, then like the organization's gonna look bad if they win or lose. If they win, they're gonna be like, yeah, why the fuck didn't they play DeMonte the whole time? What is this org doing? It's mismanaged. Like they're gonna have to deal with that whole shitstorm. And then if they lose, people are gonna be like, well, what the fuck are all these roster changes? Like you throw in this guy, then you throw in the next guy, then you swap back to the first guy. You could have had more weeks with DeMonte, develop team synergy. Like I feel like that's just such a losing angle for the org that they will never do it. That's what I think.
Yes, and I hate that. I hate that because I feel like there are very limited things that you have the opportunity to do when you make that decision. Is the only time you can make a change when they made the change to go to Ryoma? Like, why can't they? Like,
I think that's an end of a split type thing. Like when they made that choice to go to Ryoma, either they only had him in for 1 week and they bring him back the next week, or they had to play him the whole time, right? Because if he plays that week 6, that means that he got the last 2 weeks into playoffs. So then, like, they're going to make the whole argument. If DeMonte comes in for playoffs, it's like, well, what the fuck was that point of that last 2 weeks? Like, this didn't have any impact. And then now, like, if they do it now, it's way too late. Then you've like had Ryoma play an entire series, and there's all the questions. So like, I feel like the only reasonable time they could have brought DeMonte back in would have been week 6. Like that would have been like, okay, he had 1 week, like. Just like, you know, we needed some different energy, whatever, brought him back in. Now now the team's like ready to like perform as a team again.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what's gonna end up. You know, so actually on the topic of this, I think that orgs that have CEOs and general managers that are very interactive and engaging with the community, I think that should. I mean, I don't know. You can't let Reddit, and it's really sad that it does, okay, regardless of whatever fucking nonsense or gibberish people fucking talk about how Reddit doesn't influence decisions. Shut the fuck up. Of course it does, because what ends up happening behind the scenes is management, GMs. No, I remember the absolutely fucking just dog water take that ended up happening a few years ago that I got fucking reamed for. Yeah, the PR stuff, the PR polys over there. Reddit is a really scary thing, as is Twitter, because the higher-ups don't understand the game. And all they see is very loud people complaining and that it looks bad. So then they start to ask questions. Regardless of if anything ends up happening, questions at least end up coming up. But the point that I'm trying to make is I think that general managers and CEOs and you know, those that interact with the community without just giving PR takes or like addressing what could be problematic, I think it actually just throws the flame back onto the people who would choose to flame. I think it actually just helps drown it out. It basically you're arguing optics at that point.
Yeah.
You need to just win the optics war. And I think that GMs and CEOs are not trying to win optics war, and I don't know why.
Well, but that's my point. I feel like if you felt like, hey, I wanted a matchup, we've seen what Demonte against Perks looks like, doesn't look good. Let's try to get Tommy Boy in there and let's see what his matchup is going to be. They didn't know where they were going to end up. And they're like, well, we think in this matchup, let's put in the gold stars and see what we can do. You know, you could even say that if you honestly think that matchup worked better, you wanted a different style going into playoffs, didn't work, and you're like, hey, we didn't like that now. Let's try something else. We have another opportunity with the winners bracket, losers bracket playoffs. Take advantage of that and make the swap. Like I know that the optics might not look good, and Reddit will be so it'll be very easy to make a take and say, why did we do that in the first place? Well, because the opposite is doing nothing and thinking that it's going to fix itself, and so but
then the whole thing is now like you're supposed to lose to C9, right? Like even 100 Thieves when they were playing their known style was always supposed to lose to C9.
Yeah.
So now it's like you're supposed to beat Dig, and if you lose to Dig, no matter what you do, if you do the roster swap, whatever, if you lose to Dig, then you're just getting like hard flamed. And if you change something and then lose to Dig, it's so much more catastrophic because it's like, holy shit, like you probably would have beat Dig if you just kept your roster intact. So I feel like there's no winning at this point. They need to like just like I feel like they just want to like advance past this round. Like 100 Thieves wants to advance past this round, lose to TSM in the next round, and then just call it quits. Like, oh yeah, we got fourth. Like pretty good first showing for our guys, you know, top 4, you know, we're going to improve by 1 slot for summer, make it to Worlds. Like that's going to be the whole angle that they choose to go for. It's like such an easy, like non-offensive angle to take, I feel like.
Right. So going to LS's point is winning the optics war. If they make the swap or if they swap back or try to take control on that front, I will applaud it regardless if they win or lose, because if they realize that is our best roster, like they're one of the few teams where it's like, okay, this is very clear how the team changes when you put this guy in, right? With RJ and Pobe, like Pobe is just better, right? RJ had good stats, but Pobe is better, and you could see the team function better. But their play style, how did that change a ton? Whereas the 100 Thieves that we've described, that you described, you know, not playing just tanks in the top, allowing that to be the funneling and mid lane being the facilitation of that is a complete makeover of what they're trying to do. So I think if they make that change, I will try to go out of my way and applaud that, and because I know it'll be really easy for naysayer Nates to just hop onto Reddit and just, you know, do
then
whatever
you're gonna get
side.
flamed too.
Yeah.
Like people will be like, yep, and that's and that just shows how dGon knows about League of Legends right here.
Strong
Like, you're
5.
just gonna go like you're gonna try to fight like the good fight, and then at the end of the day you're gonna fucking go down with the ship. So
Yeah.
unlucky.
Yeah. Unlucky. Well, we'll get to see what happens here. So what was your pick, LS? Like Dom thinks that 100 Thieves has this. LS, who you got in this one?
I mean, I
forgot.
think 100
Fuel
Thieves has
in the rocket or on where's the fuel?
I think 100 Thieves have it if they draft like they did against Cloud9. I think if they don't, Dig could maybe win.
All right. There you go. 100 Thieves favored by the Facecheck guys here in this matchup. Let's take a look at our second matchup that we have. It'll be the battle of I feel like every team has a former TSM jungler. Svenskeren, Spica, Evil Geniuses, and TSM. TSM, at least they won a game in their playoff round. Evil Geniuses had the week off to practice and scrim with probably the other side of the bracket. What do you think of this matchup here, LS?
I mean, I think EG TSM. I don't. No, EG is so forgettable, man. It's really I'm not even trying to be flamey there. It's just like What do they? They don't really have an idea. They're all. I don't. Dom, please go.
I'm
gonna say some not nice things.
I mean, all I'm gonna say is I'll never forget that Lucian dive from Jizuke. Like that is burned into my memory for the rest of my life. Like I'll be on my fucking deathbed. I'll be like, yeah, just before I go, just tell Jizuke he's a fucking inter, and then that'll be my last words. And I'm just gonna die right there. So for me, I mean, I don't know. I just feel like EG is a team that you should be able to prep against. That's my real take. Is like TSM. It seems like they had really good prep coming into the TL series. I think that they actually had like a good idea, and it felt like they really caught TL off guard, right? Like they went for the 0 into Orianna, they counterpicked the Thresh, so they ended up with like 1 losing lane, 2 winning lanes. They split the map. Like it feels like they're the type of team that actually are getting advantages from the time spent. I wouldn't expect EG to massively improve during a break. It doesn't seem like that. Like they have the players that are gonna drastically like change the way they think. You know, it feels like the players are very stuck in their own ways. You know, it's like
yes.
Like
I mean, if you look at their drafts, they play the same champions over and over and over. Like it's really bizarre. I mean, I don't know if you have it up on screen or whatnot. All right, we had 4 Hecarim games in a row. Gnar is like lining the match history for Impact, right? He almost doesn't deviate, and when he does, it's on champions that have been in the meta for 2 years.
Renekton.
It's Renekton and Aatrox. Like, there is such little deviation. There Kai'Sa everywhere, right? Orianna, Azir, Echo. I mean, you have the Nico game. But, like,
true.
They're so one-dimensional. Their gameplay is so inconsistent, right? They can drop games to absolute bottom teams. They can rob some of the middle of the pack teams. They're just truly like a middle bottom team. And their drafts are so one-dimensional, and I agree with what you said. A lot of these players, I think, are very weathered. I think they're very, very weathered. And I'm not saying like they're old physically. I'm saying they've been around for a long time, and I agree that they don't strike me as anyone who's magically going to change in 1 or 2 weeks. It's not going to happen.
Yep.
And
then the other thing is
malleable at all.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like just in like the easiest way that I would talk about it, like I would just say, you probably approach this looking to ban Ryze in most situations. Like, you don't want to give Jizuke a good TF game, you don't want to give him a free Ryze, and then you don't want to draft in a way that allows you to have like give them a free Echo counter pick. So like that's just pretty much how you can approach the draft. You can just play around that. Like, I don't think that if you end up control mage versus control mage, even if you're like Orianna into Jizuke's Azir, I don't think that that's a matchup where you feel like you're on the bad side of it if you're Power People. You know, a PoE can play pretty much all the control mages. Maybe you ban a TF on first rotation, then you take something that Echo is not a good counter pick into third, fourth. So you don't like draft like Syndra Blind and things like that. And then you just you ban out the Ryze in second phase, and boom, like now you just have EG playing that uncomfortable style. Like they've played the Orianna games, they've played the Azir games, but it never looks comfortable for Jizuke. You know, like Jizuke looks like he's not enjoying playing those champions, and it feels like he never has the clean, crisp, like unkillable mage games that you see from top tier mids around the world. Like when they're on point, it's like they're dealing so much damage, but you can never kill them. It never feels like that with Jizuke. It just feels like he's like kind of like, I don't know. It's like the uncanny valley thing. It's almost a mage player, but it's still Jizuke.
Yep.
Yeah, very coin flippy indeed. My poor AD carry just can't get a fucking normal mid laner. We'll see what happens in that matchup. So with that said, we got TSM 3, what? You going full 3-0 or we doing...
I think 3-1. I think that they're going to like blunder one of the drafts and it'll be like, oh shit, Jizuke played Echo here. Oh, god damn it. We drafted Syndra Blind and we didn't ban the Echo. Like, it's going to be one of those games. There's going to be one, but outside of that, yeah, I think they'll win the rest.
What you got for us, LS?
I mean, I think, dude, this one's hard. I plead the fifth, dude. I don't know. I'm gonna go with TSM. I'm gonna go with TSM winning it. I am not gonna give a game prediction because this is just.
So that means 3-0. That means LS says 3-0 TSM.
Oh man, listen. Alpha Go, Alpha Zero, whatever, it would disconnect itself. It would refuse to give a fucking answer on this. Deep Mind would turn itself off. Holy shit.
The computer would
man.
explode. Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there we go. I think TSM's played poorly enough that my boy's gonna steal the series. They're going in. Who's
Definitely.
with me? Who's on the Definitely rocket all the way to the sky? So I met with my boy, right? After the Jinx game. It was actually after the Jinx game, and it was like, oh god, dude. And he was like, yeah, man, that fucking sucked. And so with the insights that I was given, I do believe that they've talked about it. They know what they are. They know what they're not. And I think that with TSM stumbling, bumbling, fumbling all the way down. Plus, if you catch them on a good game, Impact was one of the best players in the league this season, this split. He played really well when he was playing well. When he played poorly, he gets ran over, right? So, I don't know. I give him a fighting chance, and I will take that chance. Who's with me? Who's going to the moon with Definitely and myself? Get on the rocket now. Get off the dig rocket and go on the rocket with the Evil Geniuses to the moon, where they'll lose in the next round to Dignitas.
Are you fucking done yet?
Shit. All right, I'm done. Cool.
Jesus fucking Christ. I've had to listen to that for 2.5 years now.
Yeah.
It's too much.
And now it's time. Now it's time, right? Just like
No, it's never time.
No,
it's
it's
literally
not.
never definitely time.
It is definitely time.
never definitely time.
All right, here we go. Clip this shit. All right, here we go. And then
The only
we'll run
time,
back.
the only time for definitely is the times where he gets dropped down to academy for like another year before some other team is like, you know what, he wasn't that bad, and then they bring him back up, and then he just like,
There it
and then he
is.
just plays like definitely.
We got the Rockets in there. Definitely taking NA to Worlds, baby. All right. All right. So next up, as we close things out here, we're almost done. A little bit shorter of an episode. There we go. We got the Definitely Rockets going. Yeah, I love it. Last thing, we have to touch on it because it became such a big talking point here. So Dom, we brought up a lot of what we talked about last week was Golden Guardians. Talked about Golden Guardians, their development, and one thing that was specifically discussed was their coaching staff, right? And, because they're the ones developing the players that they have, we kind of wondered about the players that they decided to pick, whether they're aged or weathered, as this term that we're using, and then real fresh. So we talked about and discussed the Oceanic coaching decisions that Anero's made, being one of being the leading Oceanic coach haver, and whether it was Jimmy, and they've got Spooks.
It's 4 out of 4. It's literally 4 out of 4 that from OCE,
right,
on their coaching staff.
And so Anero tweeted out to our tweet. Anero hires his friends, 17 retweets, and a bajillion favorites.
Yeah, it was actually just a subtweet. Like,
yeah.
You can at me on it, but whatever.
And then such a disrespectful narrative to the coaches I get to work with daily that are 1,000% better than they ever get credit for. Now, that may be true, right? But when, in my opinion, I still have the utmost respect for Anero doing what he's done in being an impact in North American League of Legends for the past, 4 years, right? It's not easy to coach that long. It is a difficult profession to do mentally. It's draining, all that stuff. But when the team is struggling that much, when the organization is struggling that much, and you're not able to hold on to your players, you're not able to develop when you have a development roster, you go and wonder what's up with the developers. And there's nothing from the Golden Guardians on like, hey, who are these? Who are the people developing this? And so we have conjecture, and that's where we came up with like, hey, Osh players. And Dom, specifically, I know that there was that one part of the argument that you're like, hey, this makes sense to me, right?
Well, I mean, for me, I don't think that like speculating, I mean, you can't have perfect information, right? Like,
Right.
So I feel like you're just naturally going to speculate. And for some reason, like when it was the whole league against them, people didn't really care. Like when people were like, yeah, like Immortals, nepotism, a bunch of French players with a French coach, like that was like accepted, But I mean, when you attribute that to like, I guess players that are like, people that are a little bit closer to like the English speaking scene, like OC obviously has probably more users on the English speaking Reddit than like, for example, LFL does. When you're in a situation like that, I think that they just take it too negatively. But like from my perspective, it's like, I feel like you should be free to like postulate what you think could be happening within organizations. It's like when players come over that have played together before, you talk about like, hey, like, or did these guys a package deal, or like does this guy only want to play with that guy? Like how did this thing come to? We said the same thing with Smoothie earlier. It was all over Reddit when people were like, hey, Wild Turtle is joining Smoothie's team. They live together. Maybe that's why, they wanted to play again. Maybe there is an element of nepotism within there. But I mean, I don't think that that's a cut and hold thing. It's not like I accused them of anything. I postulated a reason as to why their coaching staff could have been picked up, or like why those players could have been picked up as coaches. And yeah, I mean, I think one thing that I wanted to address, I mean, I addressed pretty much everything in a video, but I remember one of the feedback, one of the feedbacks I got that I really disagreed with was people being like, oh, so you're saying that just because they're from they made it almost like a racial thing where they're like, oh, well, because they're from OC, yeah, like a xenophobic thing, like, oh, because they're from OCE, they can't be good coaches. Well, and to me, like, I mean, that's kind of just like how it works. Like, would you take a player that like did not perform that well in NA? Let's say you take a player from NA that like didn't have a ton of success, and NA is known for having really piss poor macro, right? Would an EU LEC team take them and put them directly into like a coaching staff and have them coaching players like Whippo, for example, or players like, Alfari when he was in Europe, or players like Wonder? Like, I feel like there's a chain of command that is, or like not a chain of command. I don't know why I said that, but there's like an order of like progression that you're supposed to be able to go through in order to like qualify for positions. And I feel like Golden Guardians has like completely skipped that with their coaching staff and with their players. It's not supposed to be straight from collegiate directly into LCS. It's supposed to be like collegiate into academy or collegiate into amateur, and then you see how they perform, and then maybe proving grounds happens and they get moved to a team, and then from there you start seeing how they perform against better competition. And, like you develop them there, and then they become LCS ready. I feel like Golden Guardians didn't do that with their coaches, right? Like when you look at Spooks when he came over, and when you look at Swiper, I mean, I've known both of them. They've been big in OC for a while. Neither of them had any professional coaching experience when they joined the GGS coaching staff. They went straight from being a player to coach, and they're working with like LCS players. So like they haven't been in environments where they're learning like how top teams operate. Obviously in OCE, like the teams don't operate on a super high level. Same thing for NA. It's like I wouldn't take NA players. Like imagine if like IG or something just had me fucking become their coach, and I'm just working with like Shun and like the Shy and Rookie and trying to teach them how to play. I'd be like, what the fuck is Dom doing there? How the fuck did he get this job? I think it's the same thing if an OCE player comes to NA. Like I think that they should have to prove themselves. They should have to work with the academy team and like work their way up to being somebody that can coach LCS players in a way that makes sense. Like if you haven't been in a good environment with a bunch of players and you're able to like develop your game knowledge or like level up your game understanding there, like how are you actually going to provide useful information?
Yep.
Yeah.
Alice, go ahead.
No, I mean, I think the Golden. I mean, I don't want to touch on this. I don't want to reignite it. You know
okay.
what I mean?
Okay.
But I know that they apparently. I haven't seen it yet, but I guess it got brought up on Hotline League. But I haven't seen the response there. I know Dom had the Twitter thing that goes out. I mean, I scoff at the things that were suggested or commented on Twitter. But obviously, I don't want to reignite it.
Yeah. No worries. I saw in chat a couple of people bringing up Dylan Falco. Dylan Falco came from North America, and then he's coaching over in EU. My man spent 2 years here in North America, first with Envy, which had Lyra, who at that time was one of the players that had great macro and was able to display that with his team. That was the team that had like Seraph on it and was like, I mean, they were still able to drag performances out of him. And he still, they were last place and he got all pro jungler. Like that is how impactful that player was. And so that's one person that you're able to coach and learn from and give back and forth, as well as the Immortal squad that had Hooney and Rainover, like peak Rainover at that time. That was the Immortal squad that fell short and choked it over in playoffs. So Dylan Falco had spent the time in LCS before there was like an academy system to learn how to do that, and now
before that he was with TSM. Like he was like an assistant analyst with TSM in season 5. Yeah, I remember when he got picked up. So like, yeah, I'm just saying that there was like a complete like there's like a coaching hierarchy that you should have to like go through to just like prove that you have capabilities within like that area of League of Legends that I just feel like have been ignored. So, I mean, that's like why you have to start speculating how else could they have got there, because it's not like based off pure merit. It's not like these guys had results coaching in OCE and then they're brought over like because of that. They hadn't coached. They were just players. They were players that were like Swiper was competing last year at this time. So, I mean, for me, if you're in an underdeveloped region, like you obviously have to understand that like that region isn't going to give you the same experience, and like you're not going to be able to level yourself up as easily.
Well, there's other things that not everyone who learns things can teach it, right? That's a different. It's a different skill set.
Yeah.
Just because you're a pro player doesn't mean you have the skill set. But also, how many pro players? And I'm not saying this is the case for these coaches. Okay. How many pro players are absolutely awful at comprehensive game knowledge, but also they display things that are actually pretty bad very often? That's another big this is such a convoluted topic because there's so much to unpack on why the idea that that you can just pick and drop anyone into titled positions somehow means that it's okay or that it's good. There's so much to unpack.
Yeah.
The standard on coaching right now, the bar is extremely low.
It's so
Anyone
low.
can be a coach.
So
Anyone. If your friends, and this is why nepotism is like a word that gets thrown around a lot. People don't fucking realize how easy it is because there's nothing gatekeeping it, and there's nothing that is actually there's no credentials to get it, right? You don't need anything to actually just become a coach. In the scene right now. The other thing that I really hate, and I'm God, jeez, I saw a Reddit comment that had like 300 upvotes at one point that said that academy coaches or like coaches in the scene, academy players always say good things about them. I don't know if I've said this on Facecheck or if I mulled about this on my stream, or maybe it was a private call with Nemesis or whatever. How the fuck can they not say positive things? Job security is already so fucking fringe in academy. Okay, you have the amateur scene, you have academy, etc. How can you ever possibly say what you're actually thinking about those coaches or analysts? You can't, because you need a job. So of course all they're gonna say is positive things. Holy shit! There's no other option. There's no other option, guy in chat, guy in Reddit, guy in Twitter. There's no other play. You must say positive things. Now, the real juice is the private. I mean, God, the real juice is like somehow getting their private thoughts by measuring their actions when no one's observing. I mean, you can do that. That's a pretty good way to measure people by seeing like where do they gravitate towards, what type of things do they do, what type of things do they do in solo queue. Like also talking about people after they've separated from them, right? But then it gets into a more nitty-gritty thing. Are they still in the amateur scene or the academy scene or all these other things? And where are they standing in their career? Are they still like a nobody? Because then suddenly if you start actually saying what you think, then it gets more problematic.
Yep.
This is a really passionate topic for me. I don't want to like go unhinged on this, but I just want to point out the fucking how ludicrous it is that the way that we evaluate coaches is solely through conjecture and solely on the basis of very, very surface level interviews and conversations with people who basically can't say anything but positives and platitudes.
Because of perception and job security and things of that nature. It reminds me of soccer, where there's each continental confederation has a license that you're supposed to get for your coaching, and you have to apply to it. You have to meet the requirements, the year requirements, and then apply, and then you can move up and up and up as you take these courses, prove that you can do it, as well as coach at a different level until you get your license where you can coach wherever, an A license.
So here's the last thing I want to just end on here is like how you'd actually have to like go about doing things if you like wanted to have zero bias involved. And I'm not saying that bias is inherently a bad thing, right? Like I've talked to other coaches that they're going to be like, yeah, I'm fucking biased towards people that I worked with. Like if Grabs leaves G2, he's like, I'm taking fucking Duff wherever I can. Like this guy knows what the fuck he's doing. And like that could be something where people are like, oh, he was like, he's not getting he's not on an even playing field with other people that are interviewing for an analyst position for Grabs, because, you know, Grabs' previous relationship with Duff, and he thinks Duff is like one of the best fucking analysts in the entire West, right? But like, I mean, if you just look at what Anero said, he said that he is friends with Choo Choos, right? Like, that was one of the only people that he developed a personal relationship with during his time coaching in OC, which was the first person added to the Golden Guardian staff. So now, in order for the other people to not have any influence or any bias or any nepotism, then he would have to recuse himself from any interviews or like any type of decision making involved with the OC coaches, and so would Choo Choos, right? Because they could have pre-existing relationships with Swiper and Spooks. So now you're in a situation where it's like, how could you even make how could you even determine if these people are qualified if you're not going to use your coach or your assistant coach in trying to evaluate the person's like skill in the interview? Like, I just don't even know how you could do this without bias. It'd be so fucking hard.
It's very, very hard. And one of the things, so when team owners or GMs or stuff have reached out to me, and this happened this past off season, and I had the conversation. I had the conversation with so many different people. The best way to do it is litmus tests over a prolonged period of time, so long as you have the time, okay? But you have to use the players. You have to use the fucking players, because you need to figure out what is actually going on. Yeah. But also the other thing is that you should go in blind. You should really just go in blind, because when you go in blind, the person can't prep. They can't prepare. You don't want to see someone's doctored up, prepared fucking speech or PowerPoint or all this other shit. No. If someone's actually good, they don't need prep. Like, you can throw them into a room with, you know, just a computer and a monitor, and they should be able to talk to you. That is a genuine like litmus test. If they really know what they're talking about. They don't need to prep. They should just be able to watch the game and talk about it in real time and point out things, and the player should be able to ask questions and all this other stuff. The player is pointing out more things or saying that you're useless or saying that all this other stuff is, there's a problem. But you need, as the upper management, to give the player the ability to actually be aggressive and forthcoming with like takes and stuff, right?
So how do you do this? How do you do this when you don't even know who the fuck your players are every year? Where you literally just have a different roster every year?
That was
like
that's
my issue.
Right. So this is the problem, and this is why esports has a very big problem, because you don't even know if the players can accurately assess things. So this is where it's almost like there is actually a necessary job title for people to evaluate, and it certainly is not what we have right now. Right? It's almost like there's a need for something that doesn't currently exist.
Well, I mean, I'm sure that you've been in the same boat, LS, but like, people are so like they're so confused, or like there's such a few amount of people that are actually evaluating like potential like players coming in and coaches coming in, that like orgs, I'm sure they've reached out to you. They've reached out to me before as well, where they'll ask me what my opinion of certain players are, or what my opinion of certain coaches are, because like they don't actually have the staff like that they think that they can actually like make the evaluation themselves. Like, that's to the point where it's like, bro, I like stream and like do crack. Like, why are you fucking asking me about the players that are going to join your team or the coaches that are going to coach your players? Like, it's fucked up. Like, I am not the guy to ask. Jesus.
Okay. I mean, all right, so on the topic here, a lot of people think that I don't think that there are people in the scene that can do this. I completely disagree. There are people who probably can do it, but they get dismissed. I'm trying to think if I can actually mention a really good.
I don't think you should. I don't think you should.
Yeah, I don't think I can mention like good examples. From,
Ellis,
like,
I am here to keep this on the rails. I don't think you should.
Okay.
If teams are listening, they want that, they can message you later. I don't think you should.
No. I mean from past examples, like in the, you know what I mean, like a long time ago. I don't know if enough time has passed. But I think that there are people. I think
the general rule is like 5 years. Like, if it's under 5 years, don't even touch it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well.
Dang, this is a very fun, deep, and complicated topic that. You know, it feels like a lot of the time our conversations come back to in terms of NA talent, growing the region. How do talent get good? Like, it's such a fun, intricate topic that just will maybe require its own Facecheck episode later on. But with that, we've hit on all the big things for this week. We've highlighted next week's matchups. LS Dom co-streams, yes, LS? Is that what you got?
I think I'm co-streaming or live viewing with Perks this weekend. So that's gonna be big.
Oh shit.
We've never talked before. I mean, outside of DMs, we've never had conversations. So that'll be very interesting. And then maybe Mickey X will join back again, and of course Nemesis. So
Yeah. Oh yeah.
LS,
Mickey
LS,
X and Guy.
LS, aka Love Slovenians, back at it again.
Like imagine a year ago, right? Saying that me and Perks would like co-stream or live view together, right? It's like fucking Anduin getting possessed by the the jailer or something, because we used to have so many public mini bouts from like Twitch clips where he would, we would say stuff about each other. Oh man, we come full circle.
I just want you to talk about Renekton with Perks, because like every time so I've done a few I've done 2 episodes of the Crackdown with Perks, and then I also like had him on one of the co-streams, and you can ask him like literally anything, right? You can literally talk to him about anything. You'd be like, yo, what's your opinion on, food in LA? And he'll be like, number 1, Renekton W is the most unbalanced thing in the whole fucking game. And it's like, what? Man, that wasn't anything close to what I just asked. But like, this guy thinks Renekton W is the most broken thing in the world, and you think Renekton's useless. So just please talk about this ability.
Hey, so
too crazy.
We need to correct this, otherwise you're gonna have a bunch of molding fans. They're gonna have no hair left. He's Croatian.
Yeah.
So just throwing that one out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the Love Slovenians was Mickey X and Nemesis.
There. See?
Yeah.
See? Who knows what the fuck he's doing, Dom? All right, what do you got?
Yeah, what
this
the fuck?
weekend?
Wait, they think I don't know that Perks is from Croatia? Come on, dude.
No, it's because that's why I made my joke. I was like, yeah, and that Mickey X and that other guy. No one else cared about the fact that they're on his stream. So, Dom, what you got this weekend, man?
Nothing much. I mean, I'm just gonna be doing the live views, the co-streams, episode of the Crackdown, etc. And yeah, I mean, I'll be doing some LPL, and I'm gonna start reviewing some LCK games because I gotta figure out what's going on in that region. I just every time I watch, like, I don't know, I've watched Hanwha Life's games, and man, like, Chovy must have the worst fucking luck in the world, because his jungler is just so trash. Like, Johan, man, that guy does not cut it. That guy actually just sprints him down every fucking game. So I gotta see like how some of the better teams match up. Probably watch I guess T1 played DRX recently. I'll watch that. I'll try to get a Dom 1 game, and we'll live view some of these on stream, or we'll VOD view some of these on stream.
All right. Sweet. All right. Playoff action happening this weekend with now eliminations on the line. TSM versus Evil Geniuses. And
Wait. There's people saying there's LCK without LS, but I co-stream LCK. I don't think people know that. I don't think a lot of people know that yet.
this is your channel. Why wouldn't they know that?
No, I don't know, but it's weird. Because I can't upload YouTube videos because LCK copyrights me.
Ah,
So-
there you go.
Oh,
I mean, we go.
yeah.
Unluck. Well,
Jesus.
you can tune in here for the LCK, for both of them, LPL, and of course LCS playoff action this weekend. For the VOD, to take a look at anything else that we hit on today, head on over to VENN Esports YouTube channel for this VOD. And again, all of you that have stuck through this schedule today and last week and moving along, we appreciate all you guys. It's been a lot of fun. We'll get back at you next week after the playoff action, and we'll talk about a couple teams who will no longer be with us in the mid-season showdown. That's the name of it. All right, y'all. Have a great weekend. See ya.
Hey, thanks for watching VENN Esports. I think there's someone in here. But make sure to hit that subscribe button below and to go to our other videos, because I might not make it out of here. I might not make it out of here alive. Ah!